Welcome back to the news today. This is One on One. In Israel, the vote of Sephardic Jews, whose origin is in Arab countries, has been key ever since the campaigns of the 1970s. The first time the right-wing Likud party won the elections in 1977 was attributed to that Sephardic bloc that saw the ruling Labour Party as biased towards them. Still today, it's in the background of elections, this time less than 2 months away. And tonight with me is Dr. Yifat Bitton, founder of Tmura, the Israeli Anti-discrimination Legal Centre. Dr. Bitton, thanks very much for being with me.
Hello, good evening.
So from the outside, maybe even from the inside, when we think of discrimination in Israel, I think a lot of people think more towards the divisions between Arab Israelis and Jewish Israelis. But within Jewish Israelis, also in Israel, along ethnic and religious lines, there are a lot of different divisions. And you've been outspoken on how those connect to politics, which is extremely relevant right now. How do you see those as playing a role in the Israeli political system?
So first of all, I'll start with a starting point, which is that this is something that is not at all known, outside the boundaries of Israel, but also inside Israel. You opened your remarks saying that, Sephardic Jews used to have a lot of influence, and they are a key, they play a key role in establishing the political situation in Israel. But this is something that is completely not discussed when we get to thinking about politics in Israel. Only recently, another poll was taken as to their influence on how the political, the Sephardic influence, how it has been played out after 77, when you look at some of the parties that were really, at government, such as Kadima, for example. I don't know how to say it. It's like Kadima. It used to be Ariel Sharon's party. Yeah, going forth. Ariel Sharon's party.
That he formed.
Yeah, and they won like 29, 40 at the first elections, and then 29 votes. And they used to be such an amazing party, and in terms of their governance power. And once eventually a Sephardic candidate was able to overcome an Ashkenazi candidate in this party, through the primaries. Actually, she left after that, and they lost. They almost completely lost in the next elections. They won only 2 votes, and the poll indicated that only 4% of Ashkenazi voters of that party voted to that candidate for the same party, the same, politics, the same ideas of.
So looking at maybe the evolution of that, if we see most of the polls tend to show that Sephardic voters would support the Likud in past years, at least, the more right-wing Likud party. But yet the Likud hasn't had a Sephardic leader, whereas the Labour Party, on the other hand, has had a couple of them. How do you explain that twice?
Well, it's very complicated, because also when you look at, at these leaders, Sephardic leaders in the Labour Party in Israel, they weren't very successful, and they were not leading the party. Yes, they were not leading the party through election times, and they lost on their next chair term. So there's no sense of
Amir Peretz did sort of lead during election times.
Yeah,
so for him, for the
but then he lost. So the sense
it doesn't stick.
Exactly, it doesn't stick. And also when Peretz lost to Amir Peretz, again we see the same pattern of behavior, leaving his mother party to join Sharon. So you could say, okay, there was a feeling that this is the right thing to do for everybody to gather around Sharon. But at the same time, you see a pattern here. Once the Sephardic leaders manage to climb up the ladder to lead the party, there's a flight. There's a flight.
So do you attribute that to discrimination, to a problem from within that sector of society, or both? What's the reason behind that?
I think that, again, as the numbers indicate, also with Peres and Peretz, you could see that in most of the kibbutzim, where you have mainly Ashkenazi communities, Peres won 68% of their votes, whereas Peretz used to be himself a someone who grew at a kibbutz and incorporated all of their theories and ideas about social democracy. And it was really amazing to see how they are not willing to accept him as one of their own.
So why did it never go further? For the Likud, for example, which polls as recently as 2013 showed a very strong support among Sephardic voters for the Likud. If you have a strong voting base but no leader, what's missing? What's the missing piece then?
I think history plays a substantial role in these patterns of voting. When you look at Sephardic Jews settled in underprivileged towns, in the wilderness of Israel, you don't see that the Likud has been in governance for, I don't know, grosso modo 40 years. Exactly. It's been 40 years already, almost 40 years, and nothing has been substantially changed. And they still, hold this grudge against Mapai, the old Labor Party.
So this is coming back to this. Is it an internal grudge? Is it an external discrimination?
That's true. I think there are both. So there's a dynamic here which is very complex and complicated. And I think, another thing is that, in a sense, the Likud party offers something more rooted in Jewish identity that resonates with the strong tendency that you can identify at Sephardic cycles to, being in contact with their Jewish identity, knowing that it's secure and it's safe. And when it comes to Labor Party, it feels like, that it's more of the secular Zionist front.
So let's go to another, to sort of stay current, another one of what came to be, I don't want to call it a scandal, but maybe a fiasco of this current election cycle, where former football star Eli Ohana joined the Jewish Home Party. There was a sort of uproar about it, a lot of criticism, and left. How do you explain that? Do you see that as, was it right for him to join, for Naftali Bennett to accept him in there? Was it wrong for him to leave?
So let's start with Naftali Bennett. Was that the right thing to do? So as far as he's concerned, Bennett, he just couldn't understand what the whole hustle is about. Like, he did the right thing. The right thing, as far as he's concerned, is to bring in someone who will represent a segment of society that is traditionally neglected, and definitely within the secular Zionist national group of people.
Is there rejection by the sort of the settlement movement, the far-right settlement movement there?
Definitely. As someone who's coming from a family who made the shift from, an underprivileged town to a settlement, as, by the way, as one of the reasons was definitely, getting to some kind of welfare, type of welfare state that was there much more than the government showed or presented in the Ayarot Pituach, the underprivileged towns. So the rejection was very, very dramatic. It was very, very clear that this is an elitist society. I grew up, studying in their educational system. It's a highly segregative and discriminatory system. Because
we don't have a lot of time, I want to take you then from this, which obviously very, very deeply ingrained problems here, and Israel has no shortage of issues to deal with, to resolve these internal divisions just within the Israeli Jewish society. In the short time we have left, what needs to be done? Whose responsibility is it?
I'll tell you what it is. What needs to be done is not to, assign all kinds of little presents, little political spaces for women, not just for Sephardic Jews, women, Sephardic Jews, Ethiopian Jews, who have only one representative in an, as of now, non-realistic position in Yesh Atid. This is just a shame. So I think it's not enough. It's not even enough to put representatives. What we do want and what we ask for is to have some kind of partnership. A means that will show us, that we're part of something that's happening.
The solution will take a much longer answer, I'm sure, but partnership is a good place to start. Dr. Yifat Bitton, thanks very much for this. Thank you, our viewers, for being with us. Find us back here next Sunday for another edition. Thanks for watching.